Hey everyone, it's Brian Woodworth. I wanted to do this video because if you have seen a lot of the posts that I've been making on social media lately, you'll notice that I'm talking a lot about true nature. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to expand on what true nature is so that for the people that really have an interest in exploring deep within to discover, or I should say rediscover, or what you might even say fall back into your true nature, you'll have a better understanding of what it is that you are falling back to or exploring for. So I think the best way to start that process is to talk about what true nature is not. Because true nature is not what we have become. It's not what we, in this body-mind, have been walking around this planet for as long as you've been alive. It's not what you have been conditioned to be. And it's not what you have become based on your beliefs or religion or anything that is outside of you. So it's definitely not outside of you, but it is so deeply within you that most people will never take the time or explore far enough to discover what the true nature really is. See, even in the enlightened world, a lot of people that claim to be enlightened don't really understand what true nature is, because even they have not explored and went deep enough to the absolute end, per se, to discover what true nature is. Like I said, true nature is so deeply within us that, again, most people will never, ever understand or become aware of what true nature is. I can tell you this. It's been there all the time. It will always be there. And you don't have to go outside of yourself to find it. For me, my personal journey, I should say my spiritual journey, has been going on for about 13 years now. And because of my upbringing and my beliefs and conditioning, I had to go through this journey specifically the way I did to get to where I am now, which is this discovery or rediscovery or this falling back to my true nature. So about 13 years ago, to give you a brief background, I was going through some pretty intense things that I had just came out of a relationship that didn't end well, and it didn't end well because of a choice that I made. And in that moment, I started asking some deeper questions, and those questions really were, what has my life become? Who have I become? And I realized that it wasn't who I wanted to be, and it certainly wasn't who I was created to be. And as I was processing through that relationship, or the end of that relationship, an amazing woman came into my life, and I wasn't done processing through the emotions of this breakup, and because we had been together for so long. And this woman came into my life who like I said, she's an amazing woman. I still speak to her today. And I set her down because I wasn't in a place to start something with her. And I set her down and I said, look, I could be missing out on one of the greatest opportunities of my life. But I'm not willing to make you a casualty because, as you know, I just got out of a relationship a few months back, and I'm not through processing through the emotions of that. And because of our time together, if she would call back and say, hey, let's work this out, or at least attempt to work this out, because of the time that we spent together, I would give her the opportunity. And I told this woman, I said, I don't want to make you a casualty of that. Because if I brought you into my life at this point, that happens where she calls me and I give her the opportunity and give us the opportunity to work through things. You may have developed feelings for me, and then you're left being a casualty of that situation. And I said, I'm not willing to do that because I respect you, one, as a human being, and I said, two, I respect you too much as a woman to do that to you. And I remember it like it was yesterday, and this has been several years ago. She looked at me like I was from outer space. And she says to me, I've never had a guy be that authentic with me and that open and honest and to put my feelings first. And she says, wow, thank you. And in that moment, I knew what authenticity felt like. And I said to myself, I want more of that in my life. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but in that moment, I was becoming more of my true nature, more of who I was really created to be at the absolute core. I just didn't know what it was called. And from that moment forward, I started living my life totally different, where I started living my life more authentically from a place of love, compassion, understanding. And I started giving up the judgments that I had. And I really started connecting with people like I had never connected before. And it felt amazing. But because of my upbringing, which is a Christian upbringing at the time, I started having this resistance towards Christianity. And for me, that was a pretty interesting situation because it was so new to me. And because of my beliefs and the faith and the Bible were so ingrained into me that I didn't know anything else. And so I remember being in bed and a thought came to me that said, what if Christianity isn't the end, like most Christians believe, the crucifixion and the resurrection? What if it's the beginning? And I remember laying there and having one of those moments that I said, oh my God, am I going to be struck by lightning with that thought? Because it went completely against or different than what most Christians believed. And the next thought that came to me was, Brian, that wasn't your thought. I gave that to you. And I said, well, great, because I don't give myself that much credit. Now I can stop worrying about getting struck by lightning. But it was in that moment that I started asking the deeper questions. And I started asking from a place that I knew my heart was pure. And I was doing it from a loving place because I wanted the truth. And so that turned into this intense, very deep process that eventually would lead me to me knowing what my true nature is. And this is what I want to be able to provide to you and everybody on this planet, because this knowing of our true nature is the only thing that will allow the end of suffering, the constant love, joy, happiness, peace, and abundance in a person's life. Because it is the only thing that is constant, that never changes, and never will, and is ever present.